What's up guys, KW Stout, healthmindpower.com. In this video I'm talking about how to eat out and especially how to eat fast food without getting fat. Okay, so when it comes to getting fitness results, diet is the absolute most important thing. It's more important than training. But if we're being realistic with ourselves, we're not really going to just eat chicken and broccoli and rice every meal every single day, okay? And not only that, you don't need to. So there's nothing wrong with eating out every so often. There's nothing wrong with even having fast food every so often. And it's not going to stop you from making progress. Now, if you want to eat out for every meal, especially if you're trying to eat fast food a lot, then yeah, it is going to hinder your progress. And I'm not saying that it's something that you should necessarily aim to do, even to try to do every day. But if you find yourself in a situation where you're crunched for time and you want to eat out, or something comes up, a work meeting where you're going to be eating out, or a random friend that you haven't talked to in a while, you want to go grab a bite to eat. I mean, you shouldn't put your entire life on hold for fitness if this isn't something you do professionally. It's just not that serious, right? But it doesn't mean you also want to hold yourself back from getting your results you want either, and you don't have to. Okay. So the most important thing for me in terms of how I decide where I eat out and what I'm going to eat is I'm just pretty selective about where I eat out and what I eat. And that's based on 4 different things. Okay, so the first thing is when I go there, I look at the food and I ask myself, does this resemble real food? Because the food you get at a restaurant food costs are so high for restaurants that it's really tough for them to price things competitively and actually provide quality ingredients. So the food that they get from their vendors a lot of times is going to be very low quality food that they've just seasoned and spiced up in a way that tastes good, but it's not very good quality. So the first thing is like, I want food, I'm willing to pay more, especially for food that's real food. So, and here's the perfect example, okay? If you go to pretty much any fast food place, if you go to any place besides the big chicken places, let's say you go to McDonald's, Burger King, whatever, and you look at their chicken nuggets and you take the chicken nugget and you break it apart, and then what does that look like on the inside? Some kind of mush, it doesn't look like chicken. Then if you go to Chick-fil-A or you go to another place that chicken is their main thing, and you break apart their nuggets or their chicken strips, and then what do you see? You see actual real chicken meat, the same way it would look as if you went and bought chicken from the grocery store and cooked it yourself. To me, that's an indication, okay, this food is real. At least it's real chicken and it's less processed. Because when any food that can be ground up, okay, things that get ground up and put into tubes, most likely don't really have all real meat. So if you think about it, for example, like a hot dog, hot dogs are notorious for containing all kinds of weird stuff like organs and pieces of bone that get cut off in there, and it's just disgusting. So for one thing, I won't eat food that doesn't look like real food. That's number one right there. And anywhere, fast food or food, I'd rather just go to a gas station. I can live off of food. I've done a lot of traveling in my previous career. Whenever I had an oil company, I was constantly on the road every day, pretty much in these really deserted areas where the only option is McDonald's. And a lot of times I would just I would prefer to get all my food from gas stations. Believe it or not, it's not the most enjoyable way to do it, but you can do it. And it can be healthier because you can always, for one thing, most of them, you can almost always find fresh bananas. You can find decent protein bars or protein shakes. You can get turkey jerky. It's a good snack for protein. You can get bags of nuts. You can get, sometimes you can get, fresh fruit. Like I said, I like bananas. It's a good source of carbs. But anyways, so then the next thing I consider about any place I eat, or whenever I eat out, is because again, this is not so much just about getting fat. Here's the deal, being fat and being unhealthy tend to go hand in hand. Okay, so a lot of the foods that are the least healthy and they make us feel the worst are actually the same foods that are going to make us fat, because not only are they going to make us gain fat, they're just going to do other stuff too, like increase inflammation in your body and all these other unwanted things that can also lead to fat gain. So number 2 requirement for me is I consider, how does this make me feel after I eat it? I pretty much, nowadays I'm pretty picky. It's pretty much a one-strike policy. So if I feel sick after eating at some place, and I'm not, if it's not Chipotle or Chick-fil-A, I mean, I would give them a pass, but I never feel sick after eating there. But I just don't go back. I don't eat things again if they make me feel bad. So if you ever get that feeling of just feeling nauseous and feeling sick, or just regret eating somewhere, just don't go back. It's that simple. I don't see why people don't pay attention to that sort of thing more. But I think it's one of those things where you just get used to eating that sort of food all the time, and you forget what it feels like to feel good, and you're just that kind of sick feeling is just kind of becomes normal, and you get used to it. So then the third thing is I'm always very honest with myself whenever I eat out. I don't try to tell myself that eating out is healthy, no matter what they say. No matter how much they try to position themselves as a healthy place. It's like, for example, people believe Chipotle is this healthy restaurant. It's not healthy. It's not really that healthy. And people think there's just a lot of these other places that position themselves as healthy, but they're really not that healthy. If it's fast food or fast casual or even a restaurant, it's typically not that healthy. So I keep that in mind with everything else I eat in the day. If I'm going to be eating out, or if I eat out for one meal, I'll eat healthier the rest of the day. So I don't ever let myself get overwhelmed with it, because I don't lie to myself like, because their brand tells me it's healthy, then it's okay. And I just then I just eat like shit the rest of the day too, because I thought, that was fine. And then one last thing, the fourth thing on here is that I don't ever eat more than one fast food meal a day. In fact, nowadays I don't eat fast food that much. But if I do eat fast food, I don't eat more than one fast food meal a day, okay? So I know when you're in college that sounds crazy, because you probably are living on fast food at some times, but it's as simple as it sounds. Whenever you're young, especially whenever you're starting to put on excess fat and not quite realize it, because as you're going through your 20s, your metabolism starts slowing down, and you don't quite realize it yet. It just hasn't hit you yet. Those little extra pounds of fat here and there are adding up, and you just don't quite notice them yet. You can really slow that down by limiting your fast food intake to never more than once a day, if you even have it once a day. Okay, now those are just my requirements before I even choose a place to eat out, okay? So just to go back over those again. Number 1, is it real food? Number 2, how does it make me feel? Number 3, I'm straight up honest with myself about what I'm doing, so I can plan the rest of my day around it. I don't bullshit myself about, anything eating out. I just write it off in my mind, basically. It's not that healthy. I don't try to convince myself otherwise. And then I limit how much I eat out. Okay, so those are the requirements before even getting the food. Okay, now some easy ways to prevent yourself from getting fat. One, if you go to a real restaurant where you sit down, and the portions are bigger, these kind of places typically put a lot of butter on everything, because it adds a lot of flavor, and that's the easiest way to add a lot of flavor. It's a great way to cook, and they care more about you enjoying the food than about the food being healthy for you. They're in the business of selling food, okay, and people buy food that tastes good. So one thing you can do if you go to a sit-down restaurant is to only eat half and save the second half for later, for a separate meal. In most cases, an entree at a restaurant like that is going to be it's going to have about enough calories to be 2 meals. Especially if you're a smaller person, if you're a female and you're trying to lose weight, then it definitely is going to be at least 2 to 3 meals worth of calories. So another thing you can do, and this is the best way to plan for eating out, is to use it. If you're using an app like MyFitnessPal to track your food, hopefully you are. If not, then you can just download MyFitnessPal to do this. And what you want to do is say, every time you know where you're going to be eating in advance, which is probably, a lot of the times, you can at least kind of plan it out. Then you can look up the food beforehand and put it into MyFitnessPal beforehand. So that way the rest of the day you can work around it. Okay, so you've already selected something that the macros aren't going to completely ruin your day, and you've got it in there before you even go get the meal. That way, the rest of the day, everything you're eating can work around that. And that's actually the easiest way. That's the easiest way to eat out, is to just plan in advance, put it into your plan, into your daily intake, and then just go about your day planning around it. Sorry, I've got the hiccups. Get some water. And then another thing you can do, say you don't know what you're going to be doing. Like, say it's like this is what I would do on a Friday, okay? And I know I'm going to be hanging out with friends or something. I know we're going to go out, we're going to eat and everything, but I don't know exactly where we're going to go, so I can't pick out the meal in advance. Is I'll save a lot of fat and carbs for that meal, okay? When you eat out, they always have a lot of fat and carbs. If you've been tracking your macros for a while, then you know that, especially if you're not eating a whole lot of fat, that eating out, and especially fast food, just absolutely it takes all of your fat macros for the day, because there's just a lot of pretty much everything when you go eat out involves oil. Either if it's fast food, then it's definitely most of it's fried in oil. If not, then they add oil for flavor, because oil just makes food so much better. So you just have to plan in advance that when you eat out, no matter what you get, even if it's reasonably healthy, it's probably going to have more fat in it than what you would do at home if you cooked. And the other thing is, fast food and just restaurants in general tend to have more carbs, and this is because carbs are cheaper. So it's in the restaurant's best interest to have your meals have a lot of carbs in them as opposed to protein, because protein is the most expensive, because protein is usually going to come from meat, and meat's the most expensive thing. Okay, so they're going to keep the protein portions a little smaller and the carb sources way higher, because things like bread, pasta, potatoes, rice, all that stuff is extremely cheap. Okay, so they can make a much better profit on that. Not only that, people love carbs, right? Who doesn't love carbs? In fact, carbs and fat together make up some of the things that we love the most. Just think about it: pizza, ice cream, let's see, pretty much every fast food thing, everything that's fried, always involves carbs and fat. So to keep it from ruining your macros, just leave a bunch of extra carbs and fat for that meal. So what I would do is, say I plan on doing that, I would just have like grilled chicken salads throughout the day, okay, and not use hardly any dressing. So it's pretty much just straight protein, tiny bit of carbs, nothing really, and make sure I get close to my protein intake early on. That way I don't have to worry about not getting enough protein from the restaurant, and I can just get whatever. So anyways, as usual, I have a full article in my description below here, going into more detail about all of this. And if you don't know how to track your macros or use MyFitnessPal or any of that, I also have a free resource below, HMP Diet Guide, that you can download. It's completely free. And that's it for this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.